So, doing a little tutorial on Muki as a drop. Um, some advantages of Muki as a drop is he has a ton of options. He can do very high damage with S1 and S2 to multiple targets, and also a good double kill setup, double hit, double kill setup. Um, my build for Muki is as far as the avatar goes, I like having the heal. So Corona. I like having a range jewel. It gives you more options with shots, having that little bit extra range. And the SS is nice, but Muki doesn't really rely on SS. But it is like it makes it a little more threatening. He really gets focused when he drops just because of all the damage he does, and you don't really have you can't really hide him like you do others other drop bots. You kind of have to put him in specific places to maximize the DPS, which is why when he drops, I usually like to run the super defense little buff that you right. Like I just got the SS boost, but I usually like to run the super defense buff. And as far as the pets go, I like to do a shield break. And also, I like these because they do extra damage. But also the unicorn is good because a lot of times you do like a zigzag where your missile won't actually hit the target. You'll kind of just pass the lasers through the target. So the red unicorn is good because it'll give you a damage boost. So I think that's a good option. Now we know about Muki's shot. You have your missile that you kind of aim. And you also have your two lasers. You have your blue laser, you have your red laser, and I call this the change of direction point, this little point there. And the angle that you have determines the angle of your trajectory missile determines the angle of the blue line. So watch as I go up and down. This blue line is just going to kind of rotate up and down. And the red line just kind of meets the trajectory missile and from the change of direction. So when we're thinking about the drop, we want to think about the blue line. Again, with different angles, like a high angle shot, your blue line will be with S1. It'll be it'll start kind of in a lower position, and then that line will get kind of steeper as you lower the angle and kind of pass all the way through you. So I like to think of this as like a circle, and you use this. You think about this circle around Muki, like I'm drawing a circle with that change of direction point with Muki, right? And then I can kind of complete the circle by switching to S2. So now this is the lower part. So I can go all complete the bottom part of that circle over there, and then bring that circle up to here. And then obviously if I turn around, I can make that same kind of circle go in the other direction. So at a 45-degree angle, about a 45-degree angle coming off of Muki trajectory missile, we get about a 90-degree, about a completely horizontal blue line. Okay, so S2 blue line at 45 degrees. That same 45-degree angle with that given that horizontal blue line will give us, for S1, it'll give us a blue laser line that'll pass just about right behind us. And that's about like the perfect spot to hit a enemy tank where you won't take a little bit of damage too. Say if you drop with a little shield buff and you want to double hit, say if there was an enemy tank right behind me, right about here, that's about the right distance away. So the blue line would hit the tank behind you, not do any damage to you, and then you'll have a tank in front of you that you're aiming for as well. So let's talk about the different hits from the lasers. So we have 3 potential hits with between the blue laser and the red laser. We're going to call one of the hits the blue laser hit. We're going to call one of the hits the red laser first hit, and then we're going to call the other hit the red laser second hit. Now, the blue laser can hit as many targets as you want. So if that blue laser was passing through, say here, and it is passing through the plaz right now. So if there was a tank here, you would get a blue laser hit here, and you'll get a blue laser hit where that plaz is. The same goes for the red laser second hit. Okay? The red laser second hit will hit the plaz and do the same amount of damage to the plaz, and that red laser second hit will also hit the Duca. But there's the third hit that I mentioned is the red laser first hit, and that red laser first hit will hit the plaz and do extra damage. The first hit, red laser first hit, can only be used once. So you're not going to get a red laser first hit on the Aduka because that plaz is taking it. Now things like totems, they can eat up that red laser first hit. So you have to use that into account when you're kind of passing your laser through things. But yeah, the red laser second hit will hit both. So we're going to see a high damage on the plaz, and just however much that second hit damage on the Aduka. So you saw there we had about 90 damage for red laser second hit. And what was that? 200 and something damage for the red laser first hit combined with the red laser second hit. And so that breaks it down to about, say if the red laser second hit is 90 damage, it's about 140 damage, 130 damage for the red laser first hit. So 140, 130 plus 90 gives you just over 250, maybe about 250 for the two combined. And comparing that to the blue laser, blue laser would do about 70 damage if the red laser is doing, the red laser for second hit is doing 90. So that all kind of maybe a little bit confusing, the different damages, but just know that blue laser does the least amount of damage, red laser first hit does the most amount of damage, red laser second hit does kind of in the middle, and most times you'll see the red laser first and second hit combined, even though they are two separate. But they're in those, along with those damages, something else that we want to think about is the blue laser and the red laser second hit. They have to hit or pass through the enemy hitbox exactly, or else they're not going to do any damage at all. And that is something that is important because we can't just like most tanks, we can't just miss like just by a little bit and still get some damage. So it's kind of like an all or nothing approach to the to this damage. So continue on that topic. We call this sometimes a zigzag. So what we have to know is when when the laser does some damage, most of the time, if that laser doesn't hit just the very top, that tank is going to get dug by that first laser. So this is probably one of the most challenging concepts to kind of wrap your head around when you're learning how to do Muki. Is you would assume that this shot right here would actually hit, but would actually do some good damage. I could do a zigzag. But you have to think about this. This blue laser is going to pass through, and when it hits the plaz, that plaz is going to be dug down just a little bit. It's going to continue passing through, change the direction, and that red laser is going to come back, and that red laser will actually miss, because since that plaz will be just a little bit lower, that the red laser first hit is kind of like a splash damage, kind of has a little bit of explosion range, and it'll do a little bit of damage. But the second hit red laser will completely miss. And you can try and visualize this. The first line is going to lower them, and then that second laser is the tank's gonna be lower, and that second laser is not going to hit at all. So you saw the first hit and the second hit was kind of a little bit lower. And that's kind of the concept that you have to think about. You really have to think about, when you're playing Muki, you really have to think about the hitbox. So you can see here I'm outlining the hitbox. It's a square, no matter how the tank is angled on an incline. It's always going to be a square. And and what you want to try and do with your lasers is pass them through. Think about it that way. Pass them through the hitbox. So with that first shot, kind of, like I said, it was going to dig, and then since my missile trajectory is aiming onto the top of plaz, a better option would be to bring them to this side of plaz, bring them down here, or even on the ground in front of them. So this would be like a common shot that I would do, thinking this blue line is going to dig, and then the red laser will do even more damage. So that was with a power up. Typically that's around 300 damage. The other thing I try and do for most of the time when I drop is I really try and figure out that change of direction. That change of direction point directly in the center of that tank, it's going to do blue line damage. It's going to do red line first and second damage. So that is a ton of damage. And if it kills it with the blue line, the first hit will pass on to the next target that it hits. So I think that if I made this shot here, I would kill the Aduka with the blue line. The first hit would get eaten by that totem, and the red shot second hit would hit the Trico. So a better shot would be to try and get it right over that that totem, so the Trico takes both the first and the second. Let's see if I can do it. So first, okay, so there wasn't enough damage to for the blue line to kill the Aduka, so that Aduka took the red line first hit to finish it off. And that red line continued and did some damage to the Trico. I was hoping that Trico would get that red line first hit. But as you saw, that is a great way to do double hits. We're going to move on to the drop strategy. Usually I do, like I said, I usually do the shield buff because I get targeted by putting myself into these spots where I'm doing lots of damage. I get targeted, and like a heal is nice. If I'm going to try to like just blast down a tank, if I have a dual item and maybe like an S1, like an S1 where I would do something like this. It's just out of the way though. It's just out of the way. So that's not going to work. But say if I could put the tank like right here on this line, if the tank was, say the Trico wasn't there, if it was up here on some land, that would be a zigzag double hit with all the lasers, and a dual item can easily do 400 plus damage if you drop with that attack boost. And the most important thing you're thinking about when you're dropping is you need to visualize the S2 and S1 blue lines before you drop, like know where that change of direction is, and then you kind of want to try to line up to hit your tank with the change of direction and then go on to hit another tank, or do a zigzag hit to get a double hit, or maybe you can even do both. You can get the zigzag and the change of direction hit, so with S1, when you're dropping for S1, you want to think about putting a tank right behind you to do a little bit of damage, and then do more damage on something far away or right in front of you, and it can be a bit above you too. With S2, you're going to have tanks below you, and you're going to think about like the lower hit point tank that you want to hit is going to be like below you and in front of you. And then I like to use S2 mostly for a drop and get that change of direction point right on a tank, like get the right distance away. And that's all about practice. You're not going to learn that exactly where to place it without just trying to think about and visualize and just practice that. And as far as his SS goes, I want to talk about is, again, you have to think about that concept of digging a little bit. For whatever reason, doing the SS close to a tank, a lot of times it doesn't do, excuse me, it doesn't do great damage. Because think about one of those lasers, they're all going to fire in succession. One of them's going to dig the tank down a little bit, and meanwhile, the other three lasers won't really hit as well. So if I am doing a close-up shot, I will try to put them underneath the tank, or I'll be very careful and try to make it so that like I'll hit the back and the top of it here, somewhere along the top and the back of the hitbox, and that'll make it so maybe none of the lasers actually manage to dig the tank down a little bit. And then you have your far away shots, I think is just in general more consistent because you have them kind of converging and lining up. And I can miss a little bit and hit it here or here, and I'll do quite a bit of damage. And I think that would actually be better just because you're passing the lasers through the hitbox as opposed to putting the lasers right on top of the hitbox. Because if I put that point there, that first laser is going to dig ice ball down a little bit, and the other 3 lasers won't quite hit ice ball. So that's going to do low damage, whereas this shot here, if I were to put it right here, it would do considerably more damage because those lasers are passing right through. So as a general rule for me, like I like to use the SS if the target's like far away. It seems to be more consistent. Closer, if the target's closer, I have better luck when I put the little the little thing right somewhere underneath. So this way I'm digging the tank down a little bit with this shot, and the lasers will pass into it. Therefore, lasers will pass into it. Now it might dig it down in a way where the lasers are kind of not hitting it right. Let's see what happens. Yeah, see, it dug down the tank dug down just a little bit, and all the lasers got to go into the hitbox. Sometimes if it digs a little bit and the ground angles the tank away from you, it might do less damage. But that's a good kind of strategy for that particular instance. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was something kind of strange with Muki. I'll get a position over here to better show you what's going on. So Muki has this thing where the trajectory missile, it has like a handicap on it. Unlike other tanks, you can't like have a super close range shot. So I can't just drop that shot directly down. Now right now I have my SS pet, the pumpkin, and that pumpkin you see is that little purple trajectory. Now normal tanks, if you do the lowest power possible, you can kind of drop that shot straight down. Muki is kind of different. It always has to have this certain amount of preset power, and it won't go any lower. And no matter what, which one you use, it's always going to be low. So that's something you have to think about. When I think they put that handicap on there is because they don't want people doing this zigzag, S1 zigzag really easily onto targets right next to them. So when you're using, say, like a dig item or or the bombs, make sure that you line up. You kind of come. You're not going to have that the SPAT little trajectory. You kind of start at a higher power and then inch back into the lowest that it goes, and you keep on shrinking it down. You have to realize, okay, this is where I want that dig item to go, because if you just shoot like this, you're gonna misuse your item. See, the rest of the of the shots follow the correct shot trajectory, but as you can see, there's a little bit of handicap there, so you can't go at a very low power. Just something to keep in mind. It makes aiming at targets that are right next to you very challenging. So there's something to keep in mind. So that's it. That's all I can think of for this little tutorial. If you go back through some of my videos, you can. I have some really great examples of how Muki performs. and all the different options and all the kind of different trick shots you can do. Thanks for if you made it this far. Thanks for watching the whole thing. I really think that Muki is underutilized as a drop. He is very, it is very powerful, especially paired with an ice ball, to get those double hits and the kill shots. And I get so many perfect games with this setup. I have a very high win rate. I never used to have more than like a mid 60s to 70% win rate in pro and everything. And since I've used this strategy and kind of fine tuned it, and especially because of Muki, I'm up to low 80% win rate the past few seasons. As you can see, I'll show you my Muki history. Oops. Oh, that's the wrong one again. So, the last few seasons I've had this 80% win rate. 78 was the first one, and before that I was right around high 60s. So, it's fun. It's something you don't see very often, and I'd like to see more Muki players doing drop out there. It adds another bit of a level to the game, I think. All right, well, see you on the playfield.